should we do today? Let's watch this hit TV show with girls like you and me. It's it we really like, and best of all, it's free. Squirrel eyes are watching Geek Girl TV. Squirrel eyes are watching Geek Girl TV. Amstrad, Spectrum, Caption, Winery, Apple, Mac, PC. Geek Girl TV. Television for the computer savvy.
Hello and welcome back to Geek Girl TV. As usual, I'm your Geek Girl host, Eve Park, and my theme song was created by The Days, which you can check out at myspace.com/TheDaysGirls. This is episode number 48, and for the mathematically challenged, 48 is 2 less than 50, and 50 is a pretty numerically significant number. For me, it represents a pretty big achievement for a video podcast. It's an entire half-pod century. I'm pretty proud to be coming up on my 50th episode, and I'd like to do something special, even though I have not yet foreseen what it is. But I have 2 weeks to work it out. I do, however, know that I want your help. As I mentioned before, the number 50 is pretty numerically significant, and as a result, pretty prolific. So I need your help to cull the geekiest number 50 diamonds out of the digit rough. It's time to bring your A game. Email the cream of the crop to geekgirl@clevermedia.com. Also, if you've been meaning to send in an application to the Leitors but haven't gotten around to it, now would be a pretty good time. And remember, include a video or a picture for Super Special Elite status. So far, a status held only by 1. Existing members, if you'd like to upgrade to Super Special Elite status, now would be an excellent time. I'm really hoping that my viewers come through for me on this, so much so that I'm giving the extra week for heads up. Episode 50 or bust! And speaking of assignments, it's time to give special mentions to those Leitors that completed last week's assignment, which began with the ability to spell the word psychic. The first honorable mention goes out to Katesh for being the first to complete the assignment and proving his lateness by being most on the ball. My second honorable mention goes out to Hippie Paul, who in my opinion submitted the most creative comment by embedding our code word Matt Damon in a very original cinema psychic-esque manner. Lastly, I mention our very own Super Special Elite member Thor, who, aside from being Super Special Elite, submitted a comment that played upon my own. I'd like to thank everyone for their participation, and although the assignment is over, if you didn't get a chance to check out the Cinema Psychic last week, it's not too late to do so. So I've kind of been searching for a good messenger bag lately because they're a pretty handy geek accessory. They can hold your laptop, paperwork, gadgets, lunch, wallet, pens, and more importantly, your pen-like accessories, such as your laser pointer or your sonic screwdriver. Not to be confused with a pan-galactic gargle blaster, which would not fit in a pen holder. All messenger bags are pretty much the same, so it's kind of a no-brainer. But the Bag of Holding by Leeds has an undeniably geek reference, which puts it a nose ahead of a regular messenger bag. However, as a geek, I want something a little more than just a geek cultural reference. I want a bag that outperforms others in functionality. But for the most part, a bag is just a bag. And until I find a bag that's so much more than a bag, I'll be carrying around the Bag of Holding, which certainly doesn't underperform. And although the Bag of Holding doesn't hold infinity, it does hold a lot. A real Bag of Holding is, of course, magical and very rare. Now, don't tell Peeta this, but I believe that the secret behind the magical Bag of Holding is that they are made from hobbit stomachs. This is because of the very unique ability for a hobbit to be able to eat and eat and eat and eat and eat and never get full. Explains why they're only available on the black market. Although due to its magically deficient nature, I am sure that no hobbits were harmed in the making of this Bag of Holding. One thing though is that the cell phone pouch is actually big enough to hold my sidekick, because most cell phone pouches are not. This sidekick too is 3 years old, so it's pretty big even for smartphone standards. If you have a sleek, sexy little phone, this long pouch would probably be too big. But I bet you could use it to hold Pocky. Pocky. Speaking of phones, I hate to bring this up again, but as you can see, I am long overdue for a new smartphone. And the upcoming Sidekick LX looks pretty sweet. But of course, everyone and their dog has an iPhone. And even though I have yet to meet anyone who admits to buyer's remorse, I don't know. There's just part of me that doesn't want to want an iPhone. Oh sure, there's another half that is completely enamored by how sleek and sexy it is. But I'm just unable to jump on the bandwagon without proof that the iPhone really is the smartest smartphone available. So I keep asking iPhone users what it is that makes them so happy to own an iPhone. And usually the answer is that the iPhone has pretty good internet. I have pretty good internet. I love how the Sidekick tackles the web, especially pages not formatted for mobiles. Oh sure, I can't pinchy, but the Sidekick displays it so well that I don't have to. And I can only assume that if I didn't have a model that was 3 years old, it would perform even better. So what is it going to take to convince me? I don't know. But please do me a favor. If you have a smartphone in America that you are extremely satisfied with, please email me at geekgirl@clevermedia.com and tell me why. Or if you have an iPhone and you think I'm just a fool for holding out for so long, email me to the aforementioned address and tell me what it is that blows your mind about the iPhone. And if there's anything that still gets your goat, please admit it. I know I could do online research all day. I could compare specs until the cows come home, but it doesn't reflect the actual real-world convenience or inconvenience of using any particular cell phone. On a different note, I was recently discussing with a viewer the formula to calculate the mental maturity of men versus women in order to determine one's appropriate dating pool. Personally, I'm baffled, so I thought that I would put it to the rest of you to see if anyone has stumbled upon an appropriate algorithm. I would assume that the range gets larger the older you get, but I'm not sure if the difference stays the same, gets bigger, or gets smaller, or maybe it's some sort of curve. Now, I'll give you something to start with. He suggested that a man should date a woman who is half his age +7, ±2. Flat out, let's just assume that the formula we're creating only applies to people who are over 18. I think we can perfect it a little more. For starters, I don't think that the ±2 is near a big enough range. And the rest of the formula seems flawed as well. So, can you do better? So that's all I have time for today. I'll see you next week. This is Geek Girl, signing off.